Well, hello, and welcome to the stream. Let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to do a little Art Bell, and this is because we have Bob Lazar and UFO picking up part two. And this is the great appearance of Bob Lazar on our first program. Enjoy. When you wake up, it's a beautiful morning. Sun is shining, it's a beautiful morning. First time caller line is area code 775-727-1222. To talk with our Bell from East of the Rockies, call toll free at 800-825-5033. From West of the Rockies, call Art at 800-618-8255. International callers may reach Art Bell by calling your in-country Sprint access number, pressing option 5, and dialing toll free 800-893-0903. From coast to coast and worldwide on the internet, this is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell.
I like his answer, actually. Well, you know, a missile. Why don't you buy a missile silo? Well, because it's cool. Now, you see, I can understand that answer because it's cool. Indeed, owning a missile silo would be cool. Bob Lazar owns one, and he's pretty cool, and he'll be right back. Once again, Bob Lazar. Bob, you said you could describe some things that you can't do, or
well, one thing I do have to correct is my partner John Farad and I are involved in the silo, and John has far more invested in it than I do. So just to say that it's mine personally.
So you're not part of it.
I guess in a respect.
I mean, but did you? There's more. Well, maybe there didn't. I was going to actually put a rocket on my front lawn to impress my neighbors. I thought it'd be cool if you're a neighbor and you see a rocket go out on the guy's lawn. So, do you own a silo for the same reason? Just what you said. It's cool.
Well, no, we actually have serious plans for it.
I thought you might.
And you don't invest all kinds of money just for the hell of it. But it's amazing the amount of rumors that start. And generally, for some reason, when my name's involved somewhere, all kinds of ridiculous stories pop out of the woodwork. But I think even Channel 8 carried that story in Las Vegas. There, in fact, when I was down at the silo, we got a call from the police in Roswell. And they sounded kind of embarrassed and said, we're going to have to come down and check out the facility there. And we asked why, and there was kind of a hesitation, and they said, I know this sounds crazy, but we have people that actually have come down to the station and said that they believe you're holding alien hostages underground in the silo. Yeah, and because they filed the report, they actually went down. They're obligated to go check things out, so they had to come down and verify that there's no aliens being held hostages.
They actually did that?
Yeah, they did that while I was there, and
now that's a story in itself. That got reported. I missed that one.
Well, that was most recently before I moved to New Mexico. What had happened was just a random guy drove out there and was planning on committing suicide. Now, of all the places in the world, this guy could have gone to kill himself. He drove down the road to the silo, parked on top of it, and set his car on fire or something like that. Anyway, the thing burned to the ground. The guy was dead. And prior to that, there's also wild animals, antelope, cattle, whatever in the area, and there's been a couple dead cows out there. So the connection between cattle mutilations and all this started brewing in the minds of some people. So somehow it got around that I was developing a death ray in this underground facility, and that I had tested it on cattle, which is why they were dead. And of course, a guy came driving down the road and I vaporized his car and killed him.
I see. And you maintain that none of this is true.
Oh, of course not.
All right.
But it's just amazing the stories that get started.
Well, of course, you are Bob Lazar. There is a certain aura around you, and when you connect that with buying a missile silo, people's imaginations naturally go berserk.
Well, berserk is not good word.
But then again, you are Bob Lazar. It is a missile silo, and to be honest, you haven't actually answered my question yet about what you're going to do with it, and you say you can't answer that question, and you know that's going to feed rumors. It's got me thinking. Okay, well, all right.
Well,
Hey, Bob, over the years, especially in that time period when you were with John and the whole thing was coming down, how much, and you've done a number of public interviews, several with me, how much is left that you can't talk about? Can't, or unable to?
Concerning the UFO.
The whole thing, yeah.
Not a whole lot.
But some.
There's just a couple little tidbits, and I think I told you that before. There's a couple things that I need. And this isn't to burn anybody and hold information back, but it's in case somebody claims that they were involved with the project or worked there. There are a couple things that only those people will know. And anytime that anybody brings those up, questioned by me, I'll know. So that's the only reason. There's just a few little pieces of information here and there.
All right, then let's go down that road for a second. I mean, there are others like you, Bob, who worked out in and saw all of that. Obviously, there had to be quite a number over the years of people who became aware of that knowledge. Why are there not a lot more Bob Lazars out there?
I don't know. Initially, I was not supposed to be the only one that came forward. But,
not supposed to be?
No.
You mean you had an agreement with someone?
Well, Barry, the guy that I worked with there, was supposed to additionally come forward, but that apparently never happened. So I was left out there in the dark.
Twisting and reading.
So I don't know what happened.
So this Barry had been promised you he would step forward with you.
Well, kind of, and I wonder if it's wise really to comment too much on that, because I don't know what Barry's situation is now. But we had talked about things.
But if somebody were to come forward and claim they had seen what you saw, they also know it to be true because they worked there, you would have a couple of questions you'd be able to ask them that would verify the authenticity.
Oh, sure.
Instantaneous. Yeah. All right. Now, why did you move? I mean, you've been a very long time desert rat out here in the Las Vegas area nearby me, and of course, this area 51 is for all of us. I mean, you lived here so long. Why did you move?
After a while, Las Vegas gets to you. I was there, and certainly working at the TED site was fascinating. And a little bit of the work I did there when I initially moved to Las Vegas. But after that, being out of the scientific field, I really went stagnant and really didn't produce or do anything with it I really considered worthwhile. I just needed to get out of the Las Vegas environment completely. And New Mexico, especially around the Albuquerque area, you have two of the prominent national nuclear labs here, Los Alamos and Sandia, and the cities here are filled with PhD scientists, and it felt good to get back into the mainstream of things. And in the short time I was here, in the first 18 months, I just began to actually produce what I considered decent work. I started filing for patents and working on the hydrogen system and
I want to talk a little bit about that, as a matter of fact. You have patents and on hydrogen fuel systems, and I know you have them in your car, you've run your car on hydrogen, did it for a long time, right?
Right.
Whatever package you have, what's this SWAT team coming in and grabbing all of your data and computers?
And I have to stop you there. We can't even touch that one. I spoke to my attorney after I sent that.
Real? No kidding.
No, we got totally just
not talked about that.
Yeah.
Okay. At any rate, now that you're back or you're in New Mexico, you feel like you're doing good work in your area once again.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's just a different mindset, and also the immediate area that I live in, moving up isolated in the mountains in the middle of a forest, and on a lot of acres of land, is different than living right in the middle of Las Vegas, typically in town. So it's just it's a freer environment, and it, I'm building my own research lab here. And, I don't know. It's a lot more fertile ground for thinking and actually doing something serious.
Oh, I do get the sense there's still an awful lot you can't talk about. You said a couple of things, but then we keep touching on several things that still there's aspects of it that you can't talk about. So I would say a lot of your life still is surrounded by having to keep secrets. Are you good at keeping secrets?
No, I think it's been pretty well. But it drives me crazy because the thing I would love, I could spend 4 hours on the phone, more this stuff that you can imagine talking about the SWAT team thing. My hands are tied right now.
Oh no,
maybe in the future I can say something about that.
I know attorneys are that way. I know it's ongoing stuff, and they're right, of course. Ultimately, they're right, but it does kill you not to be able to talk about something.
Yes, it does.
Do you think that you're working on, without asking you specifically what you're working on, did any of your experience at S4, what you saw and what you learned technically, have application in any work that you're either doing now or contemplating?
Yes.
Yes. Now, I'm obligated to ask you about your project, what you envision, what you're doing, even in general terms. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're working on?
Well, actually I'm overburdened with projects in progress. As you mentioned, the hydrogen fuel systems. That's actually something I've been working on since the late 70s. And that's finally come to fruition, and a lot of the materials needed long-term testing, and they certainly have it now. That's probably the biggest.
Okay, perhaps you can answer a hydrogen question for me. Now, hydrogen is being touted, even the President of the United States is touting it as the way to go. But there are others who say, look, this is in a way all foolishness because, to create hydrogen in amounts that would be good for the public to use, selling energy cells, fuel cells, would require manufacturing, pollution, the use of energy. In other words, all you're really doing is finding a new storage facility, a way to store energy that still has to be produced, frankly, in the old-fashioned way.
No, not really.
Well, then lay it on. Not really how.
Well, first of all, there's two trains of thought here. The automotive industry, the president and his advisors are all going down the fuel cell path. And for those who don't know, a fuel cell is a device that takes gaseous hydrogen and oxygen, combines them, and makes electricity. And the fuel cell water dribbles out of it, gives them the hydrogen and oxygen combined.
That's the only byproduct is water.
Right.
And so you can use these in cars or to power homes or whatever, right?
Right. Well, you can use these things, and their car of the future has fuel cells and an electric motor, and that's how the car is powered. Now, that's very efficient, it's around 35% efficient overall. And that is pretty neat. However, all the technology's not there. The vehicles will be fantastically expensive. None really exist right now in production. And what about the billion cars that are on the road now? What, is everybody going to dish out $175,000 for a new car? And on top of that, they want to just replace gasoline pumps with hydrogen pumps and sell you the fuel again.
All right, let's get back to refuting this. In other words, no matter how it works, Bob, and it sounds like you're almost more on the negative than the positive side of this, but I mean, no matter how it works, aren't conventional fuels going to have to be used in copious amounts to produce these cylinders of hydrogen?
No, I don't. The system that I came up with, first of all, converts a conventional car to burn hydrogen conventional.
And how much cost?
Well, let me get to that in a second. Right. The actual conversion is not that difficult, not that terribly expensive. I have not used any energy producing any of the hydrogen that I make as far as power off the grid, fossil fuels, or whatnot. Hydrogen is easily electrolyzed by water. If you need to prove it to yourself, take a 12-volt battery, put both wires in the water, and a bit of salt, you'll see bubbles coming out of one side. They'll come off the other two.
And that would be hydrogen.
Right. Anyway, it's easily produced, and it can be produced with solar panels or a wind turbine. I use solar panels. That's where all my hydrogen comes from. I fill up the Corvette with it, and we drive 700 miles. And the car will also run on gasoline.
All right. So that's protected. I mean, it works, right?
Right, and it's worked for years and years and years.
All right, let's say I buy a conventional automobile for, I don't know, 20, 30 grand, something like that. What would it cost to convert a car like that to hydrogen?
Well, the big hang-up right now has been the actual storage medium. You don't want to store hydrogen as just a compressed gas because it's dangerous, it's flammable, and on top of that, you need thousands of times more space to hold the hydrogen than you would an equivalent amount of gasoline.
Okay.
So it just doesn't work.
Right.
You don't want to store liquid because that's cryogenic, it's dangerous, it's just a big thermos bottle in your tank and it's another big headache. The third way is the best way, and that's a metal hydride. And this is a granular material that absorbs hydrogen like a sponge absorbs water. And it only releases the hydrogen when it's heated, and when it's not being heated, I can fire incendiary bullets through the hydride tank, and it just smolders like a cigarette. So it's extremely thin.
Wow.
And this is a material that I store the hydrogen in the vehicles and for home.
Is this the subject of a patent?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah. Now there are various hydride materials, and some were actually very difficult to get a hold of because some of them, like lithium-6 deuteride, which is a hydride, actually, well, Purlag is a hydride, is the only use for that material is in thermonuclear bombs, and it's restricted, obviously restricted for sale. And the only reason some of these hydrides are manufactured was for the weapons industry, and they're done so in such small quantities, the cost is very high. For instance, to convert the Corvette just for the tank of hydride, we were looking at $15,000 without the hydrogen conversion itself. So this is, that's a pretty large price tag.
Out of line right now.
Right.
But if this whole thing were perfected and you had access to the materials and we're done in mass, I'd like to get some idea of what it would cost to convert.
Well, we've been working with the hydride manufacturers, and they promise a 70% reduction in cost in volume production. So
does that make it viable?
Very much so. I mean, wouldn't you pay between $4,500 and $6,000 to have your car converted? You'll have your hydrogen generator at home, so you can drive locally and even up to 700 miles away on hydrogen. And if you want, you can always put gas in the tank and the car will switch over to gasoline.
Okay, I always wanted to know, would I need to do that? Would hydrogen give me the same equal amount of horsepower? Would I be happy with the hydrogen?
You get a little less, for instance, on a larger engine. I think that's the reason we converted the Corvette. Was a lot of these alternate fuel cars, little Ford Escorts, and they little tiny motors, and it leaves everybody wondering, well, can you power something substantial? So we purposely did a large V8 engine, and it still lights up the tires and screams away. There's a little loss of horsepower, but in a large engine, you're not going to detect a 10% loss of horsepower.
Well, you still have a lot of fun, though. I mean, it's enough horsepower that generally most people are going to be happy camping.
Oh, sure, and most people are willing to pay that price tag if they never, ever have to go to a gas station again. And who's looking? On top of that, you're not supporting the oil cartel or anything else that's going on or polluting the air.
All right, right there. Bob has a Corvette converted to hydrogen. And he's had that for a long time. And I guess the rest of the world is yet to come. We'll continue to talk with Bob Lazar, who knows lots of things. We'll see what we can pry from him as the hours continue. From the high desert, I'm Art Bell. Call the Wildcard line at area code 775-727-1295. The first time caller line is area code 775-727-1222. To talk with Art Bell from east of the Rockies, call toll free at 800-825-5033. From west of the Rockies, call 800-618-8255. International callers may reach Art by calling your in-country Sprint access number, pressing option 5, and dialing toll free 800-893-0903. From coast to coast and worldwide on the internet. This is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Then we'll get questions from all of you for Bob Lazar coming up in the next hour. Listen, check out my webcam. By popular demand, I do put up a picture of the tester model. I'm holding the tester model for you in case you've never seen it. There it is. That's Bob's accurate recollection of what he saw at Area S4. I'm holding it in my hands. That's on my webcam. On the left-hand side of the coasttocoastam.com website. By the way, there may be, in fact, we know there are other Bob Lazars out there. And if there are, I'd like to encourage you to contact me. We'll work it out. Trust me, a lot of people get a little older now, and perhaps they'd like to talk about the things they saw up there. If you would, email me. My email address is artbell@mindspring.com. That's artbell, ARTBELL, at mindspring.com. So if you're another Bob Lazar out there and you figure the time is right for you and you want to tell your story, I'm your guy. That's the way to get me. artbell@mindspring.com. Bob Lazar. We'll be right back. And by the way, that's probably going to screw up my little scenario, pleading for some more Bob Lazars to come forward. But out of curiosity, Bob, tonight all across the world, people who have been involved up at Area 51S4 have seen what you have seen. These people, they're probably listening, Bob. A lot of them are listening. You can be sure of it, actually. And so What would you say to these people? Would you say, you know what, Art's right. Why don't you go ahead and email them, and why don't you come on and tell what you know? Would you advise them to do that?
No.
No, I knew you'd screw it up.
Don't tell anybody what you know.
I knew you'd do that. I knew it.
Yeah, well, that really is my message. Just forget it.
Forget it, huh?
Just forget it. Don't bother saying it. Not worth that.
It's not worth it.
It's not. And for the most part, nobody's going to believe what you have to say anyway, so don't even think of it.
Well, thanks for the help.
I'm sorry, but you asked.
Yeah, I knew, I guess, what I was in for. Okay, well, I know, but still, all right, but let me take the other side of it, Bob. Let's fight this a little bit. There's a lot of people out there, like Stephen Greer, and they really do make a compelling, damn strong case that, darn it all, if we've been visited by aliens, if they've really been here, if we have their craft, their technology, and even bodies, and this is such an incredibly large story, so important to the human race, that nobody has a right to keep anything like this secret, and it should be told, it should be out in the open. If these Bobazars don't come in and talk to me and others, then how in the hell are we ever going to find out? Because you said it yourself, the government sure ain't going to tell us.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely.
Well, then how can you say that?
Well, from personal experience.
Yeah, in other words, you're not really a crusader at all, are you?
No.
You're not.
I'm not involved in UFO research. I don't follow the stories. I don't do lectures. I don't.
I know you don't.
I don't know that stuff. I try and put it behind me, and a lot of people really, have the drive to get this stuff on camera covered, but generally those are the people that have it put culture. And sticking your neck out on the line really does change your life forever, and it's not a positive thing. People really get the wrong impression and think that this is a big boost in some way to you, and it's not by any stretch of the imagination. So why would I recommend somebody do that?
Well, a lot of people think that, when they have these reality TV shows and people line up for blocks and wait 2 days through the ice and the cold to get a chance to be, have FaceTime on television. We do live in that kind of world, so some people suspect your motive is that. But
but I hate being on TV. I hate doing interviews, and I don't do lectures and all that. How can that possibly be my motivation?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I believe me, I too understand. Do you have any knowledge, Diane, up in Washington, also, I get a computer message every now and then, a lot of them actually. Do you have any knowledge, it's a good question, of any agreement between any group of aliens and humans or the U.S. government? Do you believe that to be true or know it to be true? That there is some understanding?
I've heard rumors of that from various sources. But, I don't have any first-hand knowledge of an actual agreement.
There's a lot of speculation, of course, about an agreement to allow some human beings, for example, to be abducted, for research in return for, let's say, technology. And John Lear alluded to all that and said that they, in essence, reneged on that aspect of what's supposed to be a deal. Of course, you never make that kind of thing public. If you had made a deal to shuffle off some of your citizens at random, the guys who are going to do that was what to them, chop them up, cut them up, whatever they do, you could never talk about that ever.
I don't know. I find that kind of hard to believe.
So then John has gone too far for you. Is that right?
I'm sure he's listening.
I'm sure he's listening.
Yeah. God knows he's not too far from me. John thinks that there are people living on, some sort of beings living on Venus and some other local planet.
That's right.
And that drives me crazy.
Does it?
It absolutely does. But a bunch of them.
Well, he's convinced there are artifacts on the moon, gigantic artifacts on the moon and Mars. And others have said that as well. C. Oakland and others have said there were things on the moon. And you know what? There's speculation that the President of the United States, Mr. George Bush, is about to make a speech in which he said it's going to say that the United States is going to go back to the moon. There's going to be a shuttle mission to go back to the moon.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard he was supposed to make some sort of announcement.
And we would do it presumably with a shuttle. Which is really, yeah, really.
How are you going to get the shuttle?
I don't ask me. I have no idea, but that's what I'm hearing. And actually, I've heard this one say it's possible. I mean, that, if they used every, in other words, once I think it should be said, or someone said, once you get into orbit, you're halfway to anywhere.
Well, sure, but if you want to actually get on the moon, it's a different story. The orbiter wasn't designed to do that at all, and that needs to be replaced.
Yes, they're pretty old.
Yeah.
Still, that's apparently what's going to be announced. I could be wrong, but I don't know of any other spacecraft that we have in current production that would get us to the moon. Do you?
No, but we do still have a Saturn V sitting there.
Saturn V could do it.
Well, it was designed to do it with the Lazar module and everything. It's sitting there in its wireless. That's the thing off and launch it because they thought the program like,
You think it'd be all right? Not like old ammunition. I mean, it's pretty old now.
No, it's for the most part, it's metal and components. Just sit there with something that works. Don't do what the United States typically does and reinvent the wheel constantly. That got us to the moon many times. It worked. Just update it with the modern materials, electronic components, and use it since it's there. Stop spending huge amounts of money doing nothing.
What can you imagine our motivation would be for going back to the moon? I mean, we did go, most people believe, something, actually, I don't think we even went, but I believe we went, and we got rocks, and we didn't get very many surprises, and so what could we do on the moon today we didn't do then?
That always seemed more sensible to me, to make a small moon base as opposed to a space station.
Really? Why?
Well, for various reasons. First of all, the space station is limited in what it can do. And I know a moon base is much more difficult to get to. It doesn't have to be large, but you can at least try and test out some technology on trying to manufacture fuel, do some small refining, see what you can get from the surrounding environment. There have been reports, I think, radar mapping over the past 4 or 5 years detected that there were supposedly large frozen areas of water on the moon. Right. However, they just went over that data again and another arbiter now are refuting some of that. So, if you've got water, you've got energy, and you've got the possibility for all kinds of stuff.
So we're back to a fuzzy area. There may not be enough water there to manufacture fuel, which would be a necessity.
Right.
So that would make it uninhabitable if they're completely reversing themselves now. It's kind of strange to me. A lot of people believe, Bob, that there are things on the moon, large glass structures, incredible things that were hidden from the world when we went to the moon and have been hidden ever since. And that's the reason they say we haven't gone back. John is one of the people who believes that.
Yeah, he is. I'm not one of the people that believe that.
You are not. Then why go back?
Exploration. Why go to the top of the mountain? It's a completely different world now than it was in the 60s. There's a lot more technology, so there's a lot more we can investigate there. And the original reason to go to the moon was never to research the moon. Aside from meeting the Russians there, the original intention was only to see the feasibility, or to investigate the feasibility of making a small base there and launching a Mars mission from the moon. This was all about going to Mars. The moon was only supposed to be because it would be easier to get there from the moon, less gravity, so on and so forth. Sure. And that was just to be looked upon as a potential launching site for a Mars mission. So the interest was never in the moon. I mean, we pretty much knew it was just a rock out there anyway. The interest has always been in Mars, but other than that, easy to get to.
Unless you had a home base, and that would help.
Well, yeah, that would help. It's a shortcut, and you could store fuel there. There would be, if plans had gone how they should have, maybe we would have already been to Mars. But I think that's the frontier we should look at, is investigating that, or go to Europa. There's plenty of things in our immediate solar system that are, potentially fascinating, and Europa has probably the best chance of life, in our solar system, and even the hardcore skeptics in NASA pretty much agree there's a good chance there's something in the ocean there. So,
Bob, if we've got technology that can manipulate gravity, and damn, it was back in the early 90s when you knew that we had that. Here we are launching, whether it's a Saturn V or a shuttle or however we get back and live back to the moon. And for a reason I'm not sure about, but whatever. We're using ancient monkey-like technology compared to what exists now.
absolutely. Absolutely. I don't care what spacecraft they've come up with. In my eyes, they still look like fireworks. And they've proven themselves to be that on occasion. But it's archaic technology, and we do have something that operates differently. However, it has limited fuel, a limited lifespan, and we don't want to lose it. So, and as far as I knew at the time, we couldn't even come close to duplicating even the most basic parts of the device. So what are you left with? You're left with your own archaic method of transportation to other planets. You can only investigate what's going on around you.
So then, Rob, we have been unable to decipher the manner in which, or duplicate the manner in which gravity is manipulated by the devices on the craft that you saw. Obviously, we failed, or what? In other words, otherwise we'd be using this technology. So we failed?
Well, quite possibly. Now, again, I hesitate because I'm talking about my knowledge from the early 90s and late 80s. I don't know what's happened today. But as far as I knew back then, yeah, we failed. That's the bottom line.
Do you think these craft, when tested, were taken outside the Earth's atmosphere?
No.
You do not?
No, I know that for a fact.
For a fact?
Yeah. I don't,
well,
I just,
no, go ahead. Spit it in my ear.
Yeah, I pretty much know that for a fact.
Why, out of curiosity?
This is what we're getting real close to one of the areas that I said that I purposely don't talk about, so I know if anybody's been involved with the project, which has to do with the craft and where it's gone.
Oh.
So this is why you're hearing my hesitation on that.
Okay, well, the next thing out of my mouth was going to be, why do you think, if we thought, or if we...
Well, look, this is a very valuable article, and it's an operating craft. I don't know if the other crafts were operating. We know this one does. There's only one of them. So in other words, one of a kind of thing. Would you risk taking this out of, the Earth's gravitational pull and losing it in space?
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's a very good point.
This is their prized possession.
And you believe we still have that safely wherever? By the way, do you think it's still up there, or do you think it's been moved and if so, where do you suppose?
I don't know. I always thought that was an odd place to put it, because in the early days of the nuclear weapon development, some of the best places that they kept everything were in the South Pacific, like Kwajalein Island and things of that sort. And you don't have any looky-loos there. No hassles from anybody. You're in the middle of nowhere, and nobody can get there without you seeing them.
What a tremendous point.
And that's where I would have put it. I would have built this secret base in the middle of Nevada, outside of Las Vegas. And the only reason they moved the nuclear test site to Nevada was because it was just too expensive running supplies back and forth and all the personnel to the South Pacific. Well, you don't have that problem with the ET program because it's limited personnel, limited supplies, and go hide in the middle of the ocean on an island like they did with everything else. So if I was going to put it somewhere, that's where it was.
Why do you think instead it ended up here in Atlanta?
I don't know.
I mean, because obviously there are going to be more people conceivably seeing what's going on.
There's got to be a reason. Somebody must have,
I mean, Bob, they still drive up to the mailbox. People take videos, people take pictures. So then there's another great theory that you might want to comment on. That is that they want there to be a slow time release of information. They want rumors. They want talk about this subject for some reason that fits their agenda. Otherwise, they're in the South Pacific and, nobody...
Well, there may be some other shortcomings of having it out in the middle of the ocean that we're not thinking of, but
Perhaps.
I don't know. Maybe they need lots of supplies to deal with this thing.
Maybe they figured if it crashed, it's going to be deep down under the Pacific somewhere potentially, and we'd lose it that way.
That's quite possible too.
The desert is good for one thing, isn't it? It's it's just there and it's fairly arid, and you'd definitely be coming down on land if you landed in a strange place.
Anywhere in that, yeah.
So maybe your original point is actually the reason.
It could be.
That they wouldn't want to risk losing the 1 mile they've got. And then do you figure they're still working on trying desperately to back engineer this, or do you think by now they've done it?
It's been a long time.
It sure has.
I would hope they've made some substantial progress in 10 years, but if you don't have access to exotic material,
Then
what are you going to do?
No fuel, and that's
like I said before, being back in the 1800s, and if you want to make something out of plastic, all you can do is look at it and say, hey, this is really neat, but how do we make this stuff?
Yeah. Hold on. We're at the top of the hour. We'll be right back with Bob Lazar and you.
Call the wild card line at area code 775-727-1295. The first time caller line is area code 775-727-1222. To talk with Art Bell from East of the Rockies, call toll free at 800-825-5033. From West of the Rockies, call Art at 800-618-8255. International callers may reach Art Bell by calling your in-country spread access number, pressing option 5. And dialing toll-free 800-893-0903. From coast to coast and worldwide on the internet, this is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell.
We love you, baby. Because we do, we're going to let you talk with Bob Lazar in a moment. If you'll stay right where you are. The forum, the questions are directly ahead. By the way, all right, we'll give Dr. Greer what I have called the Lear test. We'll give him the Lear test. And I just can't let go of that ever since John said what he said on this program. I can't let though, of it for some reason. Anyway, coming up in a moment, Bob Lazar is going to attempt to answer your question. So, I guess what I would say is prepare yourself, Bob, because you never know what's going to come.
All right.
It's fun, Bob. Don't worry. It's actually it's fun.
What's the John Lear test, by the way?
Oh, what's the John Lear test? It's really cool, to use your phrase. John took me to a briefing, in essence. He said, Art, imagine you're going to this briefing, and I'm going to lay the briefing out for you, showing you slides and putting things on the blackboard, and I'm going to explain to you everything the United States and world governments have ever done regarding the whole ET issue. And you tell me at the end of it, you would say, okay, make it all public.
Okay, yeah, this is what you touched on before. Okay.
Yeah. And, at the end of it, I said, no, I wouldn't.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. And
now that really intrigues me. Why would you say that?
Because some of the things that John said are so far beyond the pale that the religious implications, the social implications, the fact that I do believe people would go berserk, completely berserk. It would take down our government. It would disturb the world. It would disturb the force. It would be.
You really think people wouldn't be able to handle that?
Well, you've got to remember now that the test was given from the John Lear perspective, and remember that John believes a lot of things to be true that you don't. Right?
I'm quite aware.
And so to take the John Lear test, you've got to take what he says as gospel. In other words, here's what some of the terrible things we've done, really terrible things. Would you make it public? And if you had to assume that everything he said there is correct, I guarantee you, I'll bet you'd come up with the same answer. So.
Well, yeah, I come up with the same answer without that. But, I truly hope everything John Lear believes isn't true. But
me too. Oh, me too.
I have been proven wrong before about many other things. So.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, here we go. What's the rock of John Lear? I've got John on the line here. Bob Lazar. How you doing?
Hi, Bob.
Hey there, Cody.
It's a pleasure to talk to both of you. It's been a while since I talked to you, Art.
Well, glad to have you back.
Bob, I meeting you by day one time, and I regret that. I noticed that you were down in Nevada. Oh. I wondered if you knew about a material called starlight. It was supposedly created by a couple of scientists, but I've always had suspicions it was, alien technology.
Starlight, what is this material, sir?
Well, a physicist told me about this material. It's like two liquid plastics, and when you put it together, it forms an indestructible solid. Nuclear blast won't touch it. Nothing will destroy it.
Have you heard of such material, Bob?
No, I'm pretty skeptical about a claim like that. But, well, it's not supposed to be classified, and it came from a pretty reliable source. And also, John wanted me to ask you about the orange crate and the crate of Copernicus. John wanted you to ask me about the orange crate? Right, the crate on the moon.
John who? Lear?
John Lear, yeah, that's correct. Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. He showed me a picture one time, and there was a perfectly square object on a moon picture, and said, well, what's the orange crate doing there? And we're arguing about, some of the images from the moon, and these grainy little things with a couple dots, and John was claiming, well, that's just a reflection from Atlanta. Gladstone over so-and-so, and but anyway, he did have some pictures that, I couldn't explain, but,
and some of what John says is pretty wild. There's no doubt about it. But on one hand, you're somebody who's actually seen alien craft. Most of us haven't. So to have seen what you've seen, are the things that John says really so crazy?
Yeah.
Well, I think, see, a lot of people say, flying saucers, we got them, you've seen them, oh, come on, that's crazy.
I know, that's crazy, and maybe it makes me a hypocrite for saying so, but look, I am the first one to admit that if somebody came forward to me with my identical story and laid everything in my lap, I'm not sure I'd buy it. So I can't expect anything else from anybody else. In fact, I almost prefer people don't believe it because I'm going to get hassled less about it.
Martin in San Rafael says, I think this is accurate and why I love interviewing you. It says, Lazar continues to be the most credible witness of all, straightforward, direct, not self-serving, no books, tapes, no website, on the cell. He just describes what he saw reluctantly at that. He makes a believer of this skeptic. So in that way, you really do sell your story. I mean, you're so damn low profile about all of this, like you don't want it.
Well, it's not a business. I'm just relaying, what happened to me at the time, and that's it. That's the end of the story, and where it's done and why. How all this stuff came about is beyond my scope of knowledge, and I don't profess to know anything that I, haven't been exposed to. But I will stand on what I have seen, and
I got that, but I mean, as incredulous as it sounds, why not believe other incredulous things? I mean, if there are saucers here, if there were bodies recovered, if we actually have aliens, then certainly some of the stories about aliens could easily be true.
Well, and maybe so, but I'm spoiled.
Yep.
I had some things verified to me and a hands-on experience. I got to touch them, I got to see them, I got to analyze them. Okay, this is real. Now, the layman or researcher or whatever that hasn't, everything's in the same category to them. It's all conjecture. Again, I've had some things proven to me, and I hold on to those like an anchor. Okay, I know this is real, but I don't know about anything else. I don't know if Eddie and Barney Hill were abducted, but they have a compelling story. I don't know if the Roswell crash occurred, but that's a compelling story. Some of the stories you hear are totally logical and don't make sense. And to me, they fit in that category. You try and maintain an open mind and remain scientific about it, but you have prejudices in either direction. That's what most intelligent people do. And, I don't believe everybody that says they were abducted was abducted. But they might have been. How would I know? It's just my own personal beliefs.
No, of course not. I don't believe it all either, Bob. Or even, I might even go so far as to say large chunks of it, I don't believe it. But, some of this I do believe is true, and based on what you saw and you know to be true, then it's not too hard to imagine that there was interaction. We might not know the exact parameters of that interaction, but there was interaction with aliens.
Chances are there was, in some way, shape, or form over a period of time. By the way, on another note, I get so many emails about this. Apparently, in some other show, and I just got 3 more recently.
Yeah.
Some other show, you spoke to somebody, a female, that said, they claimed that I took her out to Area 51 and showed her around.
That's right.
Does this ring a bell to you?
Oh, absolutely. I already know that.
This is the most ridiculous story I've ever heard.
So that didn't happen either, huh?
And this thing allows visitors to talk to your security info. That's absurd. Who would even claim something like that? Yeah, in either case, it's just another one of those knuckleheads that likes to hear themselves talk.
Okay. As a matter of fact, I had an email from this person just yesterday, Bob.
Really?
Because she imagines quite a relationship with you.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Not true, though.
No.
First time call line, you're on here with Bob Lazar. Yo.
Okay. I'm calling because.
Speak up good loud.
Okay.
That's better.
I'm calling about the gravitational amplifier system. I'm interested in that because I'm a physics student, and I was thinking that
kind of at the forefront of physics research now, kind of a push to detect gravitational waves, and which is a tough thing to do, and probably ultimately discover the gravitational particle graviton. I was thinking about this three-pole system that you described is very directional, and maybe a gravitational current is involved. I was wondering if that maybe hints at why we can't figure out what is going on there. Any thoughts on that?
Well, this is more of the research I wanted to conduct while there. Well, I wanted to get down to the hardcore research in gravity and how the energy propagates by itself. And by the way, I don't believe there are gravitons. I don't believe there's particles involved. I don't believe there's even a wave particle duality, like photons are. I think this is, well, it appears to be more of a wave effect. And exactly how it propagates is, at least I don't personally understand that. It almost seems to propagate as microwave shifts, and anytime inside the craft, the gravity, the basic gravity wave was routed anywhere from the reactor to the amplifiers. It always traveled inside tuned pipes. So, again, that implies at a specific frequency you should have some sort of gravitational effect if it's just a basic carrier wave of some sort, but that doesn't appear to be true. So it's something more than that.
Well, we know, don't we, that the microwave can be carried in like oblong tubes, right? Waveguide?
Right, exactly, waveguide.
So
that's connected to the reactors, yes. The skin of the craft, and ultimately to the...
So then whatever the nature of this wave is, you could imagine it like microwave because it was carried according to your physical description, kind of the same way.
Well, if it's just a basic wave, you could just set up a high frequency oscillator, and then as you slowly increase the frequency, you get different effects. Microwave. And it's all part of the electromagnetic spectrum, and you get X-rays and whatever. You should just run into gravity at some point, but you don't. So there's something else there. But they weren't really concerned about the actual application of it. They weren't really concerned about research into the basics of it, which, probably if it would have been done that way when I was there, I think it would have given us a clue, at least a better clue, of how to use it and how to duplicate it.
But again, you think, Bob, don't you, that they're now still, if they haven't done it, they're certainly pursuing it. You wouldn't give up on something like that, would you?
Are you kidding? Not a chance. I'm sure just tremendous amounts of money are being funneled into this. And so I'm sure they continue to handpick specific people. Anyway, are going to keep their mouths closed and be involved with it. But I think it was a frustration even when I got there.
I wonder what happened to the person 50 years ago. Hey, call it. Anything else?
Actually, I was wondering if Bob had a photograph. I was wondering if he had the process for the propagation speed of the waves with no right of travel at a certain speed, where this will serve as a constant speed. You think the gravity is different?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, excellent question. Because for all indications, the propagation is instantaneous. And I know that it upsets everything, but remember, gravity in itself just sorts time and space. And every way we attempted to measure the propagation from the reactor base to the emitters themselves, there was no delay at all. And so I believe that I don't know if the wave is actually propagating instantly, or the fact that it's a gravitational wave is distorting the time-space around it and making it appear as it's a continuous propagation. But those are the results that we got.
Bob, you said you guys have measured no delay at all. How carefully was that measured? I mean, no delay at all is quite a statement to make. You could measure the spread.
So there was no delay at all, and we again envisioned other potential uses. Here's look at communication to Mars is still a flat 20 minutes
between our little robot orbiters and things of that sort. Here you have a potential, if in fact there is instantaneous propagation of gravitational waves, here's a fantastic communication device where there's no delay, where you can talk in real time at great distances. So obviously there's tremendous implications of this technology.
Even time travel.
It's possible, gravity distorts time.
And if gravity, if the speed of gravity, which is not fine, is faster than light, then you certainly have time travel based on that alone.
Well, like they say, time travel is a lot more common than you think. Time travel in the future happens all the time. All you have to do is stand there. If they're high out, we're going through space, time travel back, you just live nanoseconds into the future. Time travel backwards is debatable whether or not that's even possible.
Call it any kind of thing.
There's one other thing, notice your element 116 at the atomic mass number, and that's included in the periodic table. Is that true? Correct, that is correct. So maybe that kind of insinuates that if you're dealing with high amplitude gravity waves, everything will start off with, if you're going to amplify it. There's something unique about that element. Just like there's something unique about the nuclear elements we use in reactors, but something apparently happens different there that doesn't. And I know there were previous attempts to duplicate what was going on with other materials, other nuclear materials, and there was no success in that. So there is something very unique about the fuel, and specifically what it is, on an atomic scale. We were only just beginning to look into that. So,
I heard some rumors about some kind of speculating about, or perhaps lab work going on, something surrounding element 115. It's just, between when you told your story and now, sometime or another, I remember hearing about some legit science dabbling with the concept of 115 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, I believe it was the lab for heavy ion research in Darmstadt, Germany, and at the time they were on the cutting edge of coming up with new elements, and they were shooting for producing element 115 at one point, and they were using a new technique. Instead of bombarding something with neutrons, they were just slamming nuclei together, and somehow it was fusing into heavier elements, but I don't think they reached it. And in fact, I don't know if it was the same lab, but somebody found out that there was false data. I mean, the last heavy element that was claimed, that might have been 113. Or
what do we think the properties of this element would be generally?
Well, that's hard to predict. I mean, we certainly observed some unique properties of it. It's incredibly heavy and incredibly dense. Aside from that, the way the reactor worked in the craft was like a small accelerator, and it constantly bombarded the 115, which transmuted and immediately decayed, and that's when it produced its gravitational pulses. And as a byproduct, it produced a tremendous amount of heat. And outside this one.
Okay, all right, hold on. This is really good stuff. Bob Lazar is my guest. But yeah, generator is on my mind. That's what I'm about to do. Yeah, this is pretty good too. You're in the middle of, I don't want to miss out on anything else you have to say about the propulsion system and how element 115 was acting in the process.
I was on a roll at the minute, now I can't.
Well, remember you said it was hitting element 115.
Oh, how the reactor operated, I driven out of that, how the 115 itself was bombarded, released in some way, shape, or form, released a pulse of gravitational wave, and kind of as a byproduct, releases a tremendous amount of heat, and that heat is converted to electricity, which runs the craft. However, there's no wiring or any conventional connectors or controls or anything else. But incredibly fascinating, and to a scientist, it's a dream come true. So yeah, sure. In some respects, I regret the way things turned out, but I don't know. Maybe eventually we'll all find out what's going on.
I wonder, I really wonder, as the world grows short of oil and the wars are raging because of it, and we prepare to go back to the moon, maybe in a shuttle of all things. I don't know, it just seems like if all of this really is there, and yet I guess the answer is that you suggest we've, as of the day you can do anyway, not been successful in back engineering. So we don't have down yet, or if we do, for some reason we're not willing to begin to release. I mean, you think they could do it through industry, sort of sliding things slowly into industry as some development or something, just to get it into the economy.
Possibly, and maybe that's already been done. And every time somebody points at something, there is also conventional explanations for it. We really haven't seen anything incredibly amazing pop up. We've seen improvements over products here and there, and a couple things, but there really hasn't been any quantum leaps in recent times.
Well, you may recall, if you ever heard Colonel Corso's story before he passed on, he suggested that's exactly a number of things made it from the Roswell crash to modern industry. Pretty interesting stuff. While you're on the air with Bob Lazar, well, that's fine.
Okay. Hi, Bob. How are you there?
Speak up in loud, sir.
Okay. This is Alan from Colorado, and I have 3 questions, so I hope you can agree with me. My first question is, if Aldrich Ames of the CIA can go to jail for so many years because he revealed government secrets, how is it that Bob was able to pull this off? And then my second question.
Let's do one. Bob, pretty good question. If you've been revealing secrets of the magnitude that we've been talking about tonight, well, of course,
why don't you tell me for, how when somebody gives away, secrets, satellite secrets or other technology secrets, and, that information has to be brought out. So, okay, you're going to take me to court and say, okay, release the information. What did you release? Oh, well, secret stuff. Well, you're not going to trick them into admitting what they're trying to keep secret.
Yeah, something of this magnitude, exactly so. So I guess I would answer that part. I mean, after all, if they charged him with something, they would simply underscore everything he said. Next question.
Okay, the next question is, are there not similar ways to create gravitational propulsion effects? Like with scalar waves, possible? We're talking element 115. This whole procedure seems so exotic and so advanced. Can we not work with what we have now? And there have not been gravitational waves produced in any other method. And there are claims and such all over the place. People can do it with these Mercury engines, but for scalar waves, I've seen all of that data. The bottom line is not real.
Next.
Okay, next question. T. Thompson Brown, John Soto, Victor Schauberger with his vortex technology, John Keel, O.C. Carter. All these researchers, which this relates to the second question, and I think I know how you're going to answer it. How do you feel about what they so-called contributed to gravitational propulsion technology? Contributed where? Where is it? Tell me what. Bring it down here, I'll even find it. Every time I wasted my time on that looking at it. Everybody that claims any of that stuff is never panned out.
It's like perpetual motion.
Yeah, there's plenty of claims, and people want, looking for funding to research this or do that, and for the most part, but not for the most part, there is no device of any sort that can create a gravitational wave now, and go ahead and prove it wrong. Other than what was that for?
You're such a reasonable person.
No, but that's the fact. You can prove me wrong. Check out what we're going to find.
Then you're all right. See, that's what makes your other claim so damn legit in my mind, just like that person that wanted to do. Because every other way, you're so.
Now, that I'm not belittling the people that are doing this work. Many others were really people doing work, and I think a lot of the things they observe have other explanations.
Yes.
And, just because something lifts off the ground does not make it gravity propulsion. But gravity propulsion, I define as something that acting directly against gravity, only being lifted by electrostatic forces, something like that, something that's counteracting.
Your skepticism and everyone else just so strange and hard what you say. To us for the season.
Yeah, I really believe my own story. He's
the rock, he's on the old Bob. And you, sir, where are you? Okay.
I don't want to mention his name, but my ex-father-in-law, who was with the CIA, before he died at Agent Orange, he asked me if there's anything I would like to know about Area 51. And I said, yes, is the government cover-ups of UFOs ET's true? He said, yes, because he stood guard several feet away within one hangar base, guarding ET's first UFO that was being brought from one place to another.
But this person your dad is passed on.
Yes, he passed away. So he was all fed up with the government for what they were doing to him. Because he spent so much time in service and all that, with them, that they wouldn't do any more for him. And so he just said, the heck with it. They have a pretty bad record of taking care of their own people. But you find a lot of people as they come close to the end of their lives. Look what happened with the JFK thing. Just if enough time goes by, people become more comfortable releasing what they know.
Yeah, well, that's why I said there's got to be other bombs out there, and there surely are. So, you take the very wrong position, and you'd rather see them not come back for their own sakes than come back and verify your story.
Oh, absolutely. If you're listening, don't listen to Hart.
What's the Rockies, John? You have Bob Lazar. Hello.
This is Bob in Beaverton, listening to KEX.
Yes, sir.
I want to know, Bob, have you ever heard of the work of Jeremy Gallimore, who under certain conditions can see gravity? No, never heard that before. Okay, the way he did it was doing the old high school science class project. Just lay a bar magnet on a table, put the paper on it, sprinkle the iron filings on it. So you can see the magnetic lines of force. Okay. But Jeremy was a Native American and something of a shaman. And around the center point of that magnet, you could see a halo of energy that was gravity.
Okay, and here is where
Why did they think it was gravity?
the metaphysical meets science. Well, regardless, he thought that. So, do you ever wonder about that at all, Bob? I mean, the entire metaphysical world, maybe it's all hooey. Maybe it's another one where you can say, prove it to me first. But boy, I'll tell you, there's some good stories out there. I hear them all the time about things that we simply really don't understand regarding the afterlife.
I'm sure that that is true. You know, to be so bold to say that, boy, we have science handled and we pretty much know what's going on and everything's cut and dry, and you know that is so far from the truth. We, you know, we are even at the tip of the iceberg as far as knowledge about everything around us, and you know, talking about the metaphysical stuff. We really have no idea what's going on, and a lot of these things that you know people think are silly, you know, and the things that I may laugh at may actually turn out to be true. So
There's going to be a place
to keep an open mind.
There's going to be a place, Bob, where the metaphysical or something in the metaphysical later on meets science, and science suddenly will say, oh my God, there is another side. Oh my God, we really now suddenly have proof to some degree of the soul, some way to prove something in the metaphysical. Who knows what it might turn out to be, but somewhere science and metaphysical will suddenly meet unpredicted. First time caller line, you're on the air with Bob Lazar. Hello. Hi. Just loving your program. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I have an observation and a question. The observation is in Encarta, in Microsoft Encarta, in the encyclopedia, there's a reference about element 115. It's going to 1976, we're going to physics, 1976. It talks about element 115 as being present in a meteorite that's in the Earth's atmosphere. Oh, and also the heavier elements. Wait a minute, hold on. Where was this again? In Encarta. Which is what is it, the encyclopedia that you get for your computer from Microsoft. Yeah, Microsoft Encarta in 1976, where they're talking about a meteor that had an element 115, and then they were able to measure it and deduce that it had element 115 in it. And also, the other references were 115 to about 124 at the end of the article. It says, they work measured in mica shifts within Africa. So in mica shifts, which is, I guess, a rock formation, there is this trace when it's bombarded with a Van de Graaff generator at high energy, gives off a pattern of atomic some signature that shows that those elements were there. The logic is there and talk about that. Well, wow, that's really interesting. Now, this is isn't Encarta, we're not thinking about doing it on the internet. No, you're talking about Encarta that you find in your computer, which is an encyclopedia from that comes from Microsoft. Right? Microsoft software program. What did you look up to find that? Physics, 1976. All right, great. The bottom of the article was in there as a reference. Okay, the other question I had, the only question I had, stop for a second. Out there is somebody who's trying to do the research and email it to me. I'll have it by tomorrow night. Sorry. Okay, let me one other question. That is, I heard that somebody had tried to open one of the reactors somewhere on the facility there. Somebody made that suggestion that there was a atomic explosion there. Do you know anything about that? Yeah, I heard that officially too. Oh, really? Yeah, that was one of the things that was told to me. In fact, that was one of the reasons why I worked there, because I was allegedly enslaved things for these people. So the previous novel that I got a little too close to what was going on, apparently, from what I can recall from the story, I believe it was in March, I don't remember the date, but it was announced as a nuclear test. And there is a corresponding date for that test. And what they have listed as the test is completely false information. That was the detonation of the reactor at the test site. The detonation. So it exploded with the force of, you say they announced it as it was a low yield. I'd say never used that much. So I'm sure I just announced it, get all high points. Okay, they never tell you. Anyway, that data is on their site. Not know what it was, but that data, I don't remember March, I'm sure George had one of those guys. Do you know anything about the nature of the explosion? Yeah, I know it was, the intention was frustration was with the reactor at that point, and for whatever reason, somebody had the right idea, let's try and open it while it's operating. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, excellent smart guy working on this now.
So they took one of the prototype, not the prototype, was one of the reactors from one of the other crafts, and by the way, they all went exactly the same, not the craft, but the reactor. And they took it to the nuclear test site, and it was done remotely underground. And the people monitoring it, apparently were too close, and they didn't realize the explosion was going to be that large, and it did. Again, this is something I witnessed. I was told that it was something I was told while I was out on the site, so there's another notch of authenticity.
How many people allegedly lost their lives in this? You know,
I don't recall. It wasn't much. There were a lot of people. 2 or 3 people from what seems to stick in my mind, but I can't do that. I did hear that.
I'll be done with that. I've never heard any of them. All right, Bob, I'm out here with Bob Lazar.
Yeah, just one thing.
Okay.
And I've got a question going back to Bob's comments about running his car on hydrogen.
Okay, fire away.
Okay. Over the last bunch of years, Access Magazine has run at least a couple of articles running one's car on hydrogen using electrolysis. In other words, generating the hydrogen on board on demand. And some people I've spoken to about it say it's a ridiculous idea that it's impossible, that it would take really more energy. It's not happening. You can't crack water that fast. Oh, really? Yeah, because there's a guy unless you're carrying a nuclear power plant by you just can't. Water doesn't come apart that fast. And there are plans ways in fact that I met a business from Sandia Labs here and was talking to them, and they have this neat device that kind of works on a plasma pulse and cracks water at much higher volume than electrolysis. In fact, a guy emailed me recently that has something that does that with hydrocarbons, but as far as driving a car and having producing hydrogen by electrolysis from water at a volume great enough to keep the car running, oh, so you are required really to generate the hydrogen at some other time, some other place, and then pipe it into the car and store it. Our product is a small hydrogen generator, kind of like a dishwasher. It's in your garage, solar panels, and it takes 2 to 3 days to fill the tank. It takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of time to do it. Now, there are faster ways, but they consume more power, and they're more complicated, don't use water, so on and so forth. Ours is low cost, just connect to the water line, use a solar panel, and slowly cranks out hydrogen. And you can, over a period of 2 to 3 days, fill the tanks in your car, and then drive 700 miles. Ideally, you have several sets of tanks and just fill them and whatnot. But it's the only way to do it. I was playing with hydrogen fuel systems in the late 70s, and they just can't make it fast.
Hold on a few seconds.
I'm all set.
You're happy? Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, and take care. And I'm afraid that time is slipping by, and no, it has slipped by, and the end of the program is here. So, hey, man, what a great program again. Every time you come on, it's a great program.
It's always great to talk to you.
And maybe next time you're here, I'll give you the Lear test. Anyway, listen, thanks for being here, huh?